Now that you think that quilting is, you might think it's something that your grandmother used to do. Well, not anymore. There is a modern quilting movement, and it's picking up speed. Local quilter Angela Walters is here to show us why quilting has become cool again. Okay, so when did modern quilting become hip, urban, and trendy? Did I miss that memo?
I think you did. It was about 3 years ago when the modern quilting movement really started. Some quilters got together and decided to put their own modern point of view on the traditional art of quilting and went online with it and really found a community there. So that's where it kind of started, and I kind of fell in love with the modern quilt vibe myself.
How did you start quilting, dear?
Well, I've actually been quilting for over 10 years. My husband's grandfather taught me how to quilt, and so I started making quilts, you know, the regular traditional type quilts, and then when the modern quilting movement started, I really kind of fell in love with that.
Now, what's the difference between a quilt and quilting?
I'm glad you asked, because that's a really tricky question, because a quilt can refer to the finished piece of art, the finished quilt, but quilting refers to the stitches that actually holds the layers of a quilt together. And I kind of brought an example here to show you. You know, when you have the quilt top, then you also have the batting, which is kind of the fuzzy stuff in the middle, and then you have the backing. Well, it's the stitches of thread that actually hold those together and make it a quilt. And that's kind of where I have fallen in love with quilting, and that's kind of what I've made my career on, teaching other people how to quilt their quilts.
Is it calming? Is it therapy for you?
Absolutely. That's the name of my blog, quiltingismytherapy.com, just because I find it truly is therapy and meditative, and I want to help other people find that as well.
Now, what's this giant machine that you brought for us
Well, I brought
today?
my sewing machine. When I quilt at home, I have a long arm quilting machine, which is 12 feet long, several feet wide. It's huge, but I brought my Janome today to show you kind of how it works.
All right, let's check it out.
I've already got a sandwich on here. We call that a quilt sandwich.
A sandwich.
Quilt sandwich.
Okay.
The 2 layers of fabric with the batting in between. And basically the needle just starts sewing, and you have the ability to move the fabric as you go, and we'll just go.
We're going.
Yeah, and so you can kind of tell that that's just, you know, that's the quilting.
Oh, look at the little pattern.
I know,
that's awesome.
the cute little circles. Now I actually teach online on craftsy.com. I have a class there. I share tips on my blog, and I also have books about machine quilting. So I really love the whole machine quilting process.
How long did it, do you do this freehand?
Yes, it's all freehand. There are quilting machines that have computers attached to them, but all I do is completely guided by hand. So the machine is moving, but I'm moving it and making it, you know, making the art on the quilt.
Okay, so what else do you do besides machine quilting?
Well, I have 2 books out about machine quilting. Free Motion Quilting with Angela Walters, which is already out, and then In the Studio with Angela Walters, which will be out in the fall. I also have a class on craftsy.com, online class, which is great. People can learn how to quilt. And then I also teach, do workshops, lecture. I love to talk about quilting, and I'll do it all day if I'm allowed to.
And what is your website again? You said it a little bit earlier, but for those...
Quiltingismytherapy.com.
Quiltingismytherapy.com. I love it. Now, do you have a particular design or a particular motif that you...
Absolutely. You know, I love to take quilting designs that are nice and basic and change them up any way that I can, so that you can see on this quilt, you know, I like to take circles and change up the size.
Yes.
Or take, you know, do some different designs. So I like to make it fun and interesting, not hard, not anything that it takes too much stress, because it's supposed to be fun.
I love that your patterns have patterns.
I know,
and
isn't
I love
that fun?
Yeah, the color schemes are all great too.
Yeah. All you have to do is just let the quilt top talk to you and make the designs to fit that. It's a lot of fun.
Quiltingismytherapy.com.
Absolutely. I'll make sure you get the memo about the modern quilt.
I missed the memo. I hate it when I miss the memo. All right, thanks, my friend.
Thank you.